based on that material there. So, okay, so quick little review on last week, English grammar. The way English grammar is parsed is through word order. Greek is a synthetic language, meaning you add endings to the words in order to denote their grammatical function within a sentence. In English, we have here, the cat becomes the subject, this becomes our verb, and this becomes our object. And then, in English, if we do this, something as simple as this, now you've got something else going on completely. Your meaning is completely shifted.
Scary rat.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I don't want to run into that rat in our house. What's that?
It's a New York rat.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, the one that's dragging the whole pizza down the stairs. Yeah. Okay, so in every sentence, we're going to have a subject, a verb, and an object. The subject that the sentence is about, how it is acting upon the object that it's acting upon. So Greek does this a little bit differently. In fact, most languages, if you're Becca who's self-learning German, she's going to run into this too in German, where it doesn't matter the sentence order in a synthetic language because the grammatical information is actually tied to the word. The way Greek would work was you would have something like this. In fact, it would be a little bit more. Oh, and that's an N. Thos katos ate thon raton. And then you could flip it around. And do this. Thon raton ate thos katos. And you still have the cat eating the rat. So this is going to be the hard part that we're going to have to get past. The English grammatical function of our subject and object being determined by word order. Greek nominally is a VSO language, so it's verb, subject, object. So they would typically go something like ate the cat the rat, and they wouldn't have the comma there. It would be implied. But they don't ever really follow that rule in the Bible, so don't count on it.
Oh, don't write it down.
No, I mean, if in case somebody asks you, hey, Rachel, is Greek an OSV or a VSO language? Then you'll know.
I get that all the time.
What's that? I do too. In fact, I think Eli asked me just that the other day. Yeah. Yes, he is. All right. So
Now I know.
And knowing's half the battle. Come on, computer, wake up. So what we're going to do now is with that little slight review, I know that was not much, but everybody gets the gist that English functions off of word order. Greek, however, functions off of endings that are placed on the end of nouns.
Conjugation.
Yes, and now that's where we're going to be running into what the nominative and the accusative cases are. Yes.
Okay, so hold on, let me get the rule again. Greek functions on verb endings?
Noun endings.
Noun endings.
It does verb endings as well. In fact,
just word endings.
Just endings in general. That's when you run into a synthetic language, that means you're going to be dealing with word endings. So Greek has 4 noun cases.
4 noun cases.
4 noun cases. We're going to cover all of them by the next week, which might not be the next actual week, but feel at ease. Russian has 6. Hungarian has 18.
Oh.
So it's not like it's bad. It's as bad as it's going to be, as it can get. Okay. Last year, come on. Computer, where's my mouse at? What are we doing, computer? Are you tired of being in? Yeah. Okay. So in Greek, our suffixes are going to indicate our cases. That's why I was adding on purposefully that OS and the ON, because here we have What's this word, Bethany? Good. Apostolos. Yeah. And any guess on what that means? Yeah, well, that S is going to trick you there. Yeah, singular. Yeah, okay. So we also covered last week that English has singular and plural. And what we're going to learn today is Greek has these different case endings, and it's got a singular and a plural version of each. So technically, there's 4 cases, but there's actually something along the lines of, I think more like 16 endings you're going to have to come to terms with. For now.
So there's more once you get deeper.
Yes, there are. But once again, how do we eat an elephant? Exactly. Okay, so here we have the subject ends up having the sigma final as its ending, and direct object. Is there something? Actually, that should say direct object. Yeah, because there's also going to be another case that's going to be dealing with the different forms of an object that has a new ending. So subject, and this is only in one certain instance too. So this isn't a universal yet.
Not all OS are all, is.
Yeah, because remember, what else do we have to consider with Greek? Gender. We have feminine, masculine, and neuter to deal with. So the case endings determine the function of the word in the sentence, the grammatical function, not the word order. So then you're going to be asking yourself, what endings are we going to be needing to use here? And here we're going off this again. We have, and this is where I'm going to try this whole Sharpie. See, this is how that works. So we've got our sigma and our noun, in this instance, giving us the grammatical function. So that sigma at the end changes the function of apostolos, which, mind you, when you're looking, we'll cover that a little bit later, it's always going to be the nominative singular that you're always going to be referencing in the dictionary. So it's going to turn apostolos into the subject, the nominative, and then the noun ending here is going to turn it into the accusative. So subject, object. That little change there. So here we can have the cat eating the rat, no matter which word order you're in. Yeah.
So which one was the accusative?
The noun, but there's going to be a lot more, love, so I wouldn't write that down quite yet.
Put writing.
Yeah, and I'm getting ahead of myself here. So we got the stem of apostolos, right, is apostolo. You will never run into just a bare stem in Greek.
Okay.
It's just for your, what's that? Yes, it will always have some sort of, yes, yeah. It will always have an ending, yes. So, each noun will only ever be assigned one gender. So we have no gender fluidity in Greek. And this is not natural gender, but this, as in referring to male and female sexual functions, but linguistic gender. And then, exactly like Spanish, exactly. Except Spanish does not have a neuter case, or neuter gender. Yeah. And here we also have number, because here we have the plural, the nominative plural of apostolos is apostoloi. So whenever you have that apostoloi.
The whole sentence?
Okay. So we also have number, singular and plural. So this is the singular nominative, apostolos. Singular plural, apostoloi. And if you ever hear people wanting to correct you, like, hey, do you see all the octopuses in the tank over there? They'll be like, actually, octopi. This is where they're getting it from. And depending on if they're using it if they're not using it as the subject of the sentence, later on you'll be able to correct them too.
I just always think about, did I say this last week? Our friends had some friends, their last name was Farkas, and they would look up the Farkas family, and they would call them Farkai.
Yeah. Because even in Latin has a similar, Latin uses the same case ending, well, not the same, but the same method of case endings that Greek does. But I know they're all different, they're somewhat different depending on, okay, so where are we going here? So now, the cover again, this is what makes nominative. Something makes it nominative, and this is nominative plural. So we have singular here and plural here. So then we can also have the cats eating the cat, or the rats eating the cat, so on and so forth, and still maintain function within the sentence. Yeah. So is this making sense? Like, okay, I broke you out of the word order paradigm using the English example. We're going to start getting some examples in Greek eventually that'll show you how this is going to work. I'm liking this setup. What do you think?
Yeah, it's working.
Yeah, much easier than last week. Okay. So then we have patterns of inflection that these don't infer meaning. So what we have here are, what's the word I'm looking for? Declensions. And these are nouns that end in similar endings, like nouns that end in alpha or eta will have a certain declension, certain ways we're going to add in our endings. Nouns ending in sigma or noun will have others. And then we have some that end with the consonant, and we have they're undeclinable. Sometimes they are, but most of the time they're not. Like this word here, Yisrael. And they're typically foreign loan words or proper names. And typically, actually, Greek proper names are declined as well, too. So even like you say, Alexander the Great, Alexandros Megas. You can even refer to him as the object in the sentence to be Alexandra Megan. In that term. So even Greek names can be changed in that manner. So where this is going to play is going to be in our, these two are actually, the first two deal with the gender. These are both feminine. This is masculine, that's neuter. Foreign words. But you're going to be getting a lot of first, second, and third declension speech here. Okay, this part is not super important. So once again, this is the declensions again. This is only going to be referencing back to stuff that's going to be in the workbook. So it's going to ask you what is going to be the declension in some of the exercises you'll do. It's not going to be super important that you know all of this moving forward, that, okay, this is the first or second or third declension. What's going to be more important is going to be grammatical gender moving forward. Okay. And now here we have our cases again, the nominative, which corresponds to the English subjective case, which is in word order, which references the subject of the sentence. And in this instance, we have theos, ending in the sigma. Anybody want to give a stab at that word?
God.
Yep, just God. Okay, and then we have our accusative that corresponds to the English objective function, corresponds to the direct object of a sentence. And here we have kosmon. We have that noun ending again. Yeah, this was one of your vocabulary words. Yeah, exactly. But not the subject of the sentence, so. Okay. I'm sorry? Yeah, no worries, no worries. Okay, so then where this is going to be important, because the speaker, the person who is, in essence, dictating the letter, is going to be instilling meaning into these letters, and it's going to be our job as translators to take that meaning, their intent, the original intent of the biblical writers, and be able to parse that into modern English. So it sounds pretty funky, but once we get into practicing it, it's going to make a little bit more sense. Don, 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 don. So once again, we have our cases here again. There's going to be an example here. I think this is my first time going through. Yeah. Okay, so now here we have the examples of cases in word order here. Anybody want to take a stab at pronouncing the first sentence, the first line? What's that? All right.
God about the world.
Eneloniki.
What?
Eneloniki. In Greek.
What?
Oh,
And Helleniki.
Greek.
Oh, yeah, but yeah, that's right. You're absolutely right. Yeah. So we want to try to pronounce this in Greek.
Oh,
Perfect. Yeah. And what do we have here? Subscript iota.
Yes.
Yeah. Theos agapa ton kosmon. So we have here, what is this grammatical function of theos in this sentence?
Subject.
Exactly. And any guess on what that word means? Yeah, agape. Exactly. It's in a different, we're going to get to verbs later. That word, what do you think that means? Yeah, exactly. So now we have here, so this is our subject, our verb, our object. So now here we have,
Same words.
what do you think that means?
Same thing.
And here we have, da, 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 da. What do you think that means? Exactly.
Because the word ending.
Exactly. No matter what order you put these words in. To a degree, that's a little bit more advanced Greek. It means the same thing.
So the cosmos, they just don't read it out like that, right? They don't like, oh, the cosmos loved by God or whatever.
No, it'll always come out in their mind. The concept in their mind will be God loves the world. But mind you, they don't have the word order. Like a native Greek speaker who doesn't speak any other language doesn't have the idea that the word order needs to be a certain way. So they just always get God loves the world as we get it.
So if they're reading aloud,
Mhm.
their children or whatever,
Mhm.
they will read it in that order,
In what order?
in whatever order
Yeah.
each of those sentences is.
Yeah.
We can just get it because of the rule.
Endings, yes.
Like when we write our adjectives, we always write them in a certain order.
But yes.
Mhm.
Sounds right. It's not actually written.
Right, yeah.
Well, technically is. You have a,
It is
yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah. So, and what I'm surprised is there's one other thing in this sentence where I'm like going, is anybody noticing a pattern?
In the first two sentences, the tone is in between.
Okay, you got the right word, but not the right concept. Well, but it's something we're going to be covering later in class. Okay, I'll leave it there.
It's always in front of,
Yeah, well, yeah, the word the is the article,
always,
and it's always going to be in front of its, yes, exactly. It's always going to be in front of its noun. And and here's the important thing. In Greek, the word the is going to carry a lot more grammatical function than it does in English. So
it always goes in front of its noun.
yes, you don't have to have it. You don't have to have the article in front of the noun.
Oh.
Get rid of this. Sorry, get rid of this. That ending still conveys all the grammatical function you need.
Okay.
Russian does this same trick, but there's no word for the in Russian. Because you really don't need it, but Greek uses it for other purposes, which we'll come to later, a little bit later. So.
Are Russian and Greek like uncannily related?
They're all both Indo-European languages, but they're in different major branches of the Indo-European family. But the Russian alphabet was derived from Greek. So, if you get Greek, if you learn the Greek alphabet, you'll learn Russian really easy. Okay, so now we're going to be talking about lexicons. I kind of touched base with this a little bit early. This is a nerdy way of saying dictionary. So if you all want to pick this up, I'd recommend it's not on your required list because there is a small lexicon in the back of your hardcover book here. You can get a full Greek lexicon. So once you're outside of grade school, you're into some biblical languages. We're not using the term dictionary anymore. It's always going to be lexicon. So the lexical form is what we were talking about earlier with the root form. And then without the ending.
Yeah.
Okay. You'll never run into that in actual Greek language. But, you know, where you're
And it will
going
be in the lexicon.
to, yeah, it'll typically be, well,
And
but
then it'll
you'll,
show all the different endings.
what you'll see in yours, yeah, you'll see something like this. I don't remember how. So, and once again, the noun's always going to be listed in the nominative singular in your lexicon. So what I try to say is if you're seeing a noun or word that you're starting to look up in the lexicon and you're not finding it, and you see it ending like with a sigma or a noun, start thinking, or with a noun instead of a sigma, start thinking, oh, I need to look it up with a sigma at the end. That's probably
Okay.
the nominative of a noun that I need to look up. That's probably the accusative of a noun that I need to look up the nominative for. Or in this case, a plural, where you're going to be looking more for the nominative. So that's why I get a text saying, "Hey, I can't find this in the lexicon." I'm going to be like asking if you look at the root word, look at the lexical form, and it's going to even be more prescient when we come into our verbs. Okay, so this is just the blown up example. So we have non-lexical form. This is the nominative plural, lexical form being the nominative singular. So, yeah, S in Greek does not mean plural ever. Okay, so a quick little review. We've got our stem and case endings. So the stem would be the lexical form apostola. And the case endings are your case endings, I can't remember what the N stands for, and then the gender. We have our first declension, words that end with alpha or words that end with eta. And the second declension, words where these are the lexical forms that end in omicron. The subject equals the nominative, which gets a nominative case ending. Direct object is the accusative, which gives you the accusative case endings. Mind you, see these little abbreviations, you're going to be running into these all the time. That's always going to be nominative, that's always going to be accusative. And word order is not set in stone in Greek. And then there's the lexical form of the word. So that's just a quick little review of what we've gone over. So hey, yeah, we're doing really good time here. Anybody want to go back over any of this section?
No.
I think that 1/3 is on.
Okay. When I was in college, because we all had smartphones, we're just like,
Yeah.
and then the professor would always end up emailing it. Yeah.
We're getting this video in our email.
Yes, we are. So you all have to deal with my dry humor more than once. I mean, it's not my job to torture y'all.
So we just-
All right, let me know when y'all are ready. So are you hanging in there, Ruth? Yeah. So yeah, I got my phone wrapped up there, but I can guarantee you by this evening I'll forward you the email where you can order the books on Amazon. You could probably get them within a day or two if need be. And then I will also forward you the emails for the previous 2 classes so you can go over those classes so you can be ready, hit the ground running next time, okay? Right. You're welcome. You're very welcome.
Do you have any history in Greek? Like, nope. Me neither.
With that name, I'm hoping she'll be able to pick up on Hebrew really well. Yeah. That's you in Hebrew.
Oh, yeah, Ruth, yeah. Ruth. Beautiful book of Ruth. I started in Hebrew. The book of, well, I have the whole Old Testament, New Testament.
Yeah.
I mean, I had it in a reading class that I attended some accusative. See, there's a professor who's supposed to be retiring this year, Dr. Norman Beck.
Mhm.
He still does it. He does a service down at Den Hawken each Sunday. He's 91 years old now. But a few years ago, 7 years ago now, I had my 50th graduation, so I asked him about Hebrew, said we could attend a Hebrew class. And so then I asked him about Greek, I could attend. So I made several classes, particularly when I was staying over at Pleasanton, closer than here.
Yeah, indeed.
And so this year I made 2 classes, and one class is just with the, not with the Greek, with the Gospel of Luke. And there's one fellow that was there, his name I think was Paul, and he and I translated the Greek, and then they had also New Testament class.
Wow.
But he's supposed to have, although he's supposed to retire, he's supposed to have a New Testament first year class. And
Oh, that sounds like fun. Yeah. Those are good old days. Oh, you're bringing back some fond memories there for me, talking about this. Thank you. And you're also bringing back the stress from when I took Hebrew class. Our final exam was translating the entire book of Ruth. This is not a long book, but yeah, still. Yeah.
I've had 2 years of German there. So you got to put the verb at the end there.
Yeah. Yeah, German still does word order, but German's a modern language. The old Koine Greek would be somewhat still like a high context language where they're trying to communicate more than just we call it trying to communicate more mood than they are just propositional meaning. You run into a lot of ancient languages. Okay, so paradigms. Does anybody know what a paradigm is? Run away. Who here remembers elementary math classes? Do you remember your multiplication tables? Did you like your multiplication tables? You did? Okay. Did anybody take chemistry class? Do y'all remember the periodic table? Does anybody still memorize the periodic table? Nobody knows that catchy tune? No?
There's a song, there's a whole song.
Yes. So, a paradigm is just basically a chart. And Greek is going to have tons of these charts, these paradigms, that show the different ways of parsing nouns and verbs. You could have it being this massive poster with still 8-point font to squeeze everything on it. And I'm not going to force you to go through that. I'm going to give you, because otherwise you're just going to memorize everything. What I'm going to do is teach you general rules in smaller paradigms, smaller charts, so you're not going to have to do as much memorization, as we're basically going to be learning by actively translating. So we're only going to be needing to memorize all of the paradigms that I'm going to give you in class. And those of you who already had ordered the laminated handouts, you already have all of them.
Yeah, so it's thinking.
Yeah. By the time we get done, you're going to know exactly what all that means. No, we'll get you one, love. All right. So, our first paradigm. Okay. These are just our endings here. Okay, and yeah, just to get everybody a nominative singular, accusative singular, nominative plural, accusative plural. So now we have our plurals and all of our genders in play right now. Okay, so the endings don't have these omicrons, these etas, alphas in them. They're just easier to be able to show you than just the stem. I mean, just the actual ending in and of itself. So we're already familiar with the sigma gives us our nominative, but nominative singular, but only in the case of the masculine. Now here are our declensions. Remember so then we have our noun gives us the accusative singular, and once we've covered also the iota gives us our nominative plural. But now we have our accusative plural with upsilon sigma. This will be pronounced oos. And now we're getting into our feminine gender. We have our eta or our alpha. We have two different feminine endings, common feminine endings in Greek. So now we still have, just like in the masculine, we have the noun for our accusative. So we have en or on. We have the iota ending. But here we don't have an upsilon. We have the as, because we don't have to deal with what we have up here. There's no sigma here, so that's always going to be a plural. So the s technically can be a plural in Greek, only if it's going to be in the accusative plural feminine gender.
Why did you number top, second for masculine, first for feminine, two for neuter?
These are the paradigms, the different ways that nouns are going to end.
You mean in the declensions?
Yes, the declensions. Yes, declensions. Excuse me, I did get that wrong. Yeah,
Number 1, 2, 3.
that just happened. Excuse me for a moment. All right, and then we have our neuters. And if you notice something here, nominative and accusative both have the same ending. Yes, they do. And so do the plurals. We just end with an alpha. And the alpha is even going to throw you another loop, because Greek does something a lot called eliding, where one vowel will swallow up another vowel. Okay, the next slide is going to show you this in application with actual words here. So if y'all are wanting to take these down, I'll give you a little bit longer. Any questions in the meantime while everybody's taking notes?
Is there a rhyme or reason as to when to use the eta versus the alpha, or the eta and versus the alpha and the feminine?
Yes, the word will naturally end with an eta or an alpha. And we're about to run into that here very shortly. I'm just giving everybody a chance to jot down notes really quick. Everybody wrapping up here? Okay. Because the next chart's going to be a lot more informative to you all. And this will answer your question too, Rachel. Okay. There we go. Now we have the endings with actual words. So here, graphe ends with an eta. Hora ends with an alpha. So now we get to see those two in play.
So it's masculine, feminine.
Yeah. This is, masculine, feminine, neuter. Neuter or neutral, you can use either word. So we have now logos, logon, logoe, logus. Remember, we don't have any endings for the nominative singular for the feminine, such as graphe and hora. And then we go to accusative, it's graphen, horan, plural, graphai, horai, and then accusative plural, graphas, horas. And then once again, ergon, ergon, erga, erga. And this is where I told you that it swallows. Notice that omicron is no longer there. The alpha swallowed, or elided, the omicron. And only in the cases where you have the two neuter vowels, one's being the subject and the other one's going to be the object, is really word order going to be in this early part of the class imperative. but you don't run into it much. Yes, love.
So this is grafen.
Grafe,
Grafe, and what is it?
hora,
Hora.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
hour.
Hour.
Yeah.
Okay. This is
Grafen,
grafen.
Mhm.
Hora.
horan.
Horan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, which one you said a lie is the word, the letter came together?
Right down here. You notice here, on ergon, is no longer, the omicron's now gone, been, elided by the alpha. So in here, you can actually say something like biblical. The word said the words. Or the writing
I'll think of the first word. So
spoke of other writings. What's that?
First word, so capitalized.
Oh, in Greek?
The nominative one.
If it's gonna be referencing to Jesus as the logos, no, I've never seen that in Greek. Well, I can look that up, but I've not that I've run into it.
I think it's bigger, though, smaller letter.
Yeah. Yeah, it's typically, you only really ever run it, you do run into it in proper names. And, trying to think, even reading through Stoic writings and other writings, I've not seen, even that, I haven't seen them capitalize logos, which to them would have been something huge too.
Why does the in the nominative plural have a different accent on it than the other ones?
Oh, here? Oh, yeah, it's, Greek is not, it generally follows rules, but not all the time. So here, our acute is now changed into a circumflex. Reasons why? Don't know. But in biblical times, it would have been pronounced differently. Nowadays, you just consider that as the accent mark. You remember what I told you all what the accents meant in biblical times? Yep, exactly. And so this would have been something like a Swedish chef. Hora. Not quite that pronounced, but it would have conveyed that kind of a pitch shift.
By the way, those alphas
Mm-hmm.
look very alpha. More that A.
Yeah. It just depends on the font. In fact, I can send you links to this font if you want, if you actually want to type this stuff out on your computer.
I could put that on my computer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and actually have instructions on how to install a Greek keyboard.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would a modern Greek keyboard work the same as?
Yeah, well, if you do what I do, I've got paper charts which I can sit next to me and type. So most of them I've already kind of memorized the keyboard. The only time I have to really look at it is like, okay, how do I do a iota subscript or something like that? But you'll memorize it because like the A will be an alpha, the W will be an omega, something like that. I'll give everybody a minute to write this down because this is probably going to be the most important chart we're going to be running into for a while. Until next week. Okay, so no matter what, let's kind of fill up the dead air here while y'all are still writing. So no matter what, in here you still have this being the object, and that being, this being the subject, that being the object. Subject, object, subject, object, no matter its gender or number. The nominative always going to be the subject. Accusative always going to be the subject. And this just gives you number and gender. And gender does convey meaning. It might just give you kind of like a little snicker, like if you mix up the gender sometimes, like if, like I think one time I referred to my belly as a monkey accidentally in Spanish. By mixing up the genders, because genders can convey different meanings. In some instances, one of your vocabulary words for this week will be in how it's spoken in one gender can mean one thing, but you switch it to if it's in the female gender, it means one thing. If it's the male gender, it means another.
So most words are necessarily this specific number.
Yeah, you're not going to run into a grafe will never be a grafos. And hora will never be a horos.
How important is like subject verb agreements?
Intrinsically important, extremely important. In fact, the entirety of a synthetic language is going to be dealing with agreement, especially subject, verb, object, direct object. Because we're going to be learning 2 more cases next week. They're going to be conveying a little bit more grammar or grammatical function than just these 2. One's going to be rather intuitive. The other one's going to be taking a little bit of time to get used to. But everybody done taking down this paradigm? Mind you, this is in your book, so.
That's right. Like definitely for
Yeah, this is practice. All right.
What is going on here?
Oh, that's me. Sorry.
Oh,
I'll go grab some files.
Is that ink?
yeah, it is.
Oh. Oh, wow. Oh, I thought that was like eraser particles or something. Wow. All
Yeah.
right, I'll wait for her to come back.
Of course.
Y'all just keep going. I'm gonna.
No, I'll wait for you to get back. I'll back up a little bit. So if anybody needs any more time to write this down, I'll back up. Take a load off. So are you all getting the basic concept of this down? The questions are going to be very important at this point in time, because if you get behind in this part, it's going to be really hard to get caught back up. Okay, anybody want to guess on that last word that we're using, ergon? What does that mean in English?
Work.
Exactly. Now here we go, and this is a funny thing. No matter what, word, words. Yeah. Same thing with writing, writings, hour, hours.
It's writings, not writing.
It's not a verb, yes, it's not to write. Kind of fill up the dead space here. In Greek, you'll rarely be given the infinitive as a way of defining a verb stem, because Greek infinitives do crazy things in contrast to other languages. Well, the English and say Spanish if you've got experience in that regard. Okay, y'all ready to keep on going? All right. Pen malfunctions, the bane of every student since the invention of pens.
Little with a cap on.
Okay, so here we're going to get a little practice. Anybody want to give a trial of pronouncing this word?
Movements.
Correct. Okay, what's its case? What's its case? It's,
So if the.
y'all just spent a long time writing on.
Nominative, singular.
Oh.
What? Yeah, nominative singular.
Are you sure?
Oh,
Anybody want to take a stab?
Accusative plural. Accusative plural,
Feminine. Right?
masculine.
Yeah, exactly. What's its lexical form? How are you going
Is the you.
to... Okay.
Lexical form,
How are we going to see it in the dictionary?
L-O, I'm sorry, lambda, Omicron, gamma, Omicron. Is that it?
Okay, but yeah, exactly. It's a stem, and then typically you would have that. Okay, and what does this mean with its with the stem? What does it mean? Yeah, y'all were out and there we go. Just means words.
What is it, like the word name?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, great. Okay, anyone want to take a stab at pronouncing this?
Israel.
Okay.
No, she passed.
What's its case? Do you remember the declensions we were talking about?
Do I remember them?
Mm-hmm.
We can look at that and tell the case.
Mm-hmm.
You had it undeclinable.
Yeah. It can be any case. It's undeclinable.
Because it doesn't, can you tell us why?
Proper name, proper names import from other languages
Got it.
are undeclinable. So what's its number? Exactly. And I will give you a clue on a little bit later on how you actually are able to get grammatical function into these. What's its gender? None.
None. Because it's a proper noun?
Yeah, well, typically proper noun typically borrowed from another language. And we're going to run into that a lot in biblical Greek because lots coming in from Hebrew. What's its lexical form? How are you going to look at it in the dictionary, in the lexicon?
Exactly how it is.
Exactly. And what does it mean? What's its inflected meaning?
Israel?
Exactly. Okay. And we'll get to this. I'll give you a little clue how we're going to get to this earlier. What will give this a grammatical function will be. Oh, sorry. Dang it. Will be words like. Oh, sorry, I messed that up. That's he. Excuse me. You remember what these? The article will give it its grammatical meaning. If it's there. Doesn't necessarily need to be there. But that's where you'll run into it. Not all the time will you be running into the article in the third declension. Okay. So now we have I'm going to give you 3 noun rules. Stems ending in alpha or eta are the first in declension. That's what we talked about first. The first declension is stems, noun stems, and in alpha and omega. This is a quick little review, if you will. Stems ending in omicron are in the second declension. So we have logos and ergon. And consonantal stems, like what we saw with Israel, are in the third declension. What vowels? The noun stems end in. Remember, the noun stems are these highlighted, or are the nouns without any further case endings. Actually, just all the case endings removed, which, with the exception of feminine, singular, nominative, you will never run into a bald a bald noun without any case endings. So this is, I said, declensions aren't going to be as important in the future. You're just going to be running into it in the book from time to time, but they're not going to be something as important for grammatical function. These are just a learning tool to help you out, learning all of these different paradigms that we're going to be picking up in the class in the next few weeks. And which I want to reiterate, all this stuff is in your book, so it's not necessary to take down all these notes here. But yeah, understandable. So I'm giving you all time to write it. Okay, quick one. Second noun rule. Every neuter word has the same form in the nominative and the accusative. So ergon is both nominative and accusative. So there's a little bit less to learn in the paradigm there. We double up on our feminine, but we make up for it in our neuter.
Does that ever make it confusing?
I'm sorry?
Does that ever make it confusing when you're trying to know, like, what the nominative and accusative is?
I've never really run into it myself. Neuter words tend to be really rare. You're going to be mainly going to be feminine and masculine. So typically the feminine or masculine will be doing the heavy lifting. But then if you do run into two neuter nouns, then you're going to be looking at word ordering. As I said, the word order isn't normally important, but when you do run into this instance, then you're going to be looking at that VSO, word ordering, verb, subject, object. Okay, you all done with this one? Okay. And the third noun rule, almost all neuter words ending in alpha in the nominative, almost all neuter words end in alpha in the nominative and the accusative plural. And that same question you asked Ruth will apply for this plural format as well too. And you remember the alpha swallowed up the omicron in the in the lexical form. Are you starting to get a little bit more familiar with the way the Greek words work, where you see that instead of like having to go like epsilon, rho, gamma, alpha, you're like going erga? Yeah. It becomes more and more natural the more time we spend in this. And that's going to be what I want to really stress to you all. This is going to be a lot of sweat put into the studies, but it becomes more natural. So everything you're going to be sweating with this week will come to you as almost like instinctual a couple weeks in advance. And then you're going to be sweating about the stuff we're learning about a couple weeks in advance. And then so on and so forth. You're going to like
So you're just going to keep us sweating the whole time.
Exactly. That's why I got to keep that AC down really low. Okay. So we've got our paradigm here again. Did anybody get the chance to go over that? Get all your notes down on this. Is the same one from earlier. Okay, it's just going back over it. Okay, so now in our last half an hour here, we have the definite article, the in English. It's something that within English just is something that denotes something specific rather than any book, a book. You want the book. So it's more like an indicative. You're wanting something definite rather than something general. And remember from last week, Greek does not have an indefinite article. There is no word for a or an. And the way that you'll run into that, how that's typically fixed, is, do you remember what I told you? In every language in the world, yeah, the indefinite article is a form of the word one. So give me one.
One cookie
Yeah, exactly.
instead of a cookie.
Yeah, so you'll run in it whenever Greek really truly needs to use an indefinite article, it'll use a form of the word one, which, mind you, the numbers are also nouns, so they get this whole, or they're adjectives depending on their function, so they will get all of a paradigm breakdown in them their own self. So, and the articles are going to be our friends. They're going to communicate much more in the way of grammatical meaning than they do in English, especially when we get to the next two cases.
Is it a more sensible language?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it just depends on, it depends on what language you started learning. What's your mother tongue? Like, say, if your mother tongue was German, the grammar is very similar. If your mother tongue was Latin, this is going to be like as comfortable as putting on an old sweater. But if, like, in a modern language such as English, where we've dropped most of the synthetic features, this is going to be a little bit more work. Mind you, we have all these functions in English. They've just become separate words. And if you really want to nerd up on linguistics, at one time these were separate words in Greek too. They just happen to be smashed into the words. And to answer your earlier question, Rachel, yes, there has to be agreement. So when we get into, as we're getting into the article always has to agree with the noun. So if the noun is a nominative plural, the article is going to be a nominative plural. In fact, a lot of times that's where you're going to find out a little bit more function. Like, say, certain words that you're not quite understanding what their position is, their function in that sentence. Look at the article, and especially those within the third declension, if they have an article. And I don't want to get too much ahead of ourselves, but there's going to be times that we're going to learn next week that the word the can mean something else other than the. Okay, and now here are our friends, the article. So here's every way to say the word the in Greek in the accusative, in the nominative and accusative cases, both plural. Let me see, the next one, no, it doesn't have it. Both plural and singular. Brain shutting down on me. Singular, plural, masculine, feminine, neuter. So if you're going to use the word logos, you'd add the word, this is pronounced ho logos. It can be logon, be ton logon. Have you ever heard the term hoi polloi before? Hoi polloi means, any guess? People. Yeah, the people. The old term for the common folk. Yeah. So, and then you'd have he graphe, ten graphen, to ergon, ta erga. What do you call it? I'm brain dead. I agapai, pas agapas. And mind you, we still got two more cases left, so this paradigm actually stretches down to here, which we'll get one bite at a time, one little bite at a time. Okay, is everybody good?
All in this.
Yeah, it's all there too, yes.
And in the book.
And in the book, yeah. And in a bunch of multitude of resources online. And
I'm not going all over the internet. I'm
Yeah.
doing this,
Yeah.
and then whatever the film notes.
Yeah.
Is, you know.
maybe what we need to do is ask Micah when he gets better, see if we can write this into a catchy tune.
How's he doing?
said that name. Yesterday I was on her.
I'm trying to, I don't know, with everything his load, I was like trying to sweet talk him and seeing if he wanted to do Hebrew. But we'll see. Okay, so now we're going to get some application here. So now we have, put these two together. What does this mean? Nope, it just means God. You're going to run into this in Greek. Yeah, yeah, it's not the God, it's just God.
Why is there the?
Yeah.
Because Greek uses the article, whereas English does not. In many instances. It's communicating the grammatical function in this instance. So this is a verb here you haven't run into here, but it's a sose and a suchas, or in modern pronunciation to give you some clue, psychos.
Oh.
Yeah. And the noun form of this would end up, you'd substitute that sigma with a tau. Any guesses what that means then? Sote. Nobody? Come on.
Save.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Save.
Save. Yeah. Yeah. So soter, savior. So God saves souls. Because we have suke, because then it's like, and it's. Okay. See if anybody knows why this is souls. As that's its nominative singular form. That's a first declension there. Say again? Mm-hmm.
Feminine, plural.
Yeah. But notice it doesn't say has, sukas. It just says sukas. Because the meaning's already there at the ending. So the article's not always going to be there. It will be a lot more than in English.
There's so many of them, and yet they're unnecessary most of the time, or often.
They carry grammatical function. That's just the best way I can say. In English, they sound like they're unnecessary. In some languages, you'll end up having the word "the" put in front of more nouns than what we would do in English. Sometimes you put it in front of, like, say, I'm going to the Germany. In many languages, isn't that exactly what they do in Spanish, right? Yeah. So it just depends on the use of the language. And to the natural speaker, that is very natural. So when they come in to English and we don't have the word "the," in some instances it sounds weird to them. Or like you have a Russian cabbie in the Bronx can go, "You go store buy cereal," because they don't have the article. They'll just drop it in their English speaking. So here we go. I'm trying to think of. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit tired here. Ho as the if present. So it's the function of the article. A if not. So basically, what it means is if you have the article there, that means it's a definite article. It means so you're going to have the same function like that. Well, that God. I mean, I guess if you're talking about a carved image, or A if not, or just give me any one of those, one of your carved images. And you won't have it a lot in names and abstract nouns, but you're going to have it in most of your other nouns. And there is going to be times where you'll see it even in front of the word Jesus, in front of Jesus. Okay, and this is a neat little thing here because this is going to introduce you into something that's huge in Greek. Anybody know what a preposition is in English? Okay, in Greek they do postpositions, or postpositive. This is the, and this word means and or but. Yeah, but here it's behind. You run into that with Greek a lot. And because, like, say, if you're talking about with God, this could end up meaning he rather than the, which is interesting. So this ends up meaning but he. And you run into that with the Greek a lot. So when you'll talk about for, if anybody is in Christ, the word for, which is God in Greek, would be the second word, not the first word. We'll get into that more.
The answer.
Yeah.
Under the, you have the A, if not, you mean it's not there, you don't say it.
Yeah. Well, no, we can insert in our translations the indefinite article where in order to make it sound more natural to an English speaker, you're not adding in context that's not already in the scripture. It just, because Greek is missing the indefinite article, we'll have to insert it into English. And it's not like you're messing up God's word by removing the, just by saying God. Because that would sound, to an English speaker, if you say the God, you're not speaking about, all right, Yahweh in heaven. Yeah. You're speaking about something of a lesser being, is what it would sound like in English. So maybe if you're talking to Mormons. Everybody got everything written? Okay. Okay, so just once again covering everything. So here we have our article, and it does match. So we have nominative singular, nominative singular. This is a vowel. We're not going to worry about this later. We'll worry about this later. And then we have, also here, since we don't have the definite article, this could be any. I have to bring that into play. And then we have here our ending for accusative plural in the feminine gender. So we're missing an article here that's going to stand in for being an indefinite article. But it still flows naturally. God saves souls. But this part, you're going to be looking for this part because this is in plural. It has to be something like any or A's of souls is not going to make sense in English. You're going to be looking for that in the context. So we can do uber literal interliner translations, but a lot of times they're not going to make sense to an English speaker. Has anybody ever read a Greek interliner Bible before? I've got one at home.
What do you mean interliner?
In other words, where it's got the Greek and directly underneath the Greek is the English, word for word. So it will say, the God, he saves souls.
Well, I have a Latin Bible that has it on the side.
Yeah.
And I have also, I'm trying to learn a little bit of Italian.
Oh, nice.
It has the English for the
So if you got Latin down, Italian's going to be like, hopefully super easy. Romanian would even be probably easier.
I find it shorthand is hard to learn. Because you put so many things together. You've got 24 letters in the Greek alphabet, and they just put everything more together. That's what I'm trying to learn from my friend.
Oh yeah, just the difference in pronunciation.
No, the shorthand, well, she did shorthand over at Kelly.
Oh, okay. Oh, like she was a stenographer or something like that? Yeah. Oh, neat. Okay, so we already covered this, so I'm not going to go back over that. So we're just going to talk about the fog, which we're probably all in right now. At the end of every class, we're going to be in the fog. You're going to be walking out of here thinking, wow, I know all of this, or you're going to be thinking, I don't know any of this. But then if you leave here thinking you know all of this, you're going to get home going like, I can't remember anything I've learned in class. And then even if you're thinking that I don't know anything, the fog is still a sign of study, study, study. What you put into this is what you're going to take out. The fog, get used to it. I'm trying to remember, what was that Nicole Kidman movie? You're not going to get away from it the whole time you're in this course. But what you'll be able to see is more pictures are going to be coming out of that fog as we progress throughout the time. So, once again, everybody pray for Paul. Pray that he returns to classes. We're all going to be equally in this fall.
There's another man here.
Yeah, exactly.
There's another
That's
man
true
here.
too.
Yeah, I didn't think of that.
Maybe they really scared the too many ladies.
Yeah, and they're vicious too. So, a little quick summary. Cases show function. All the grammatical functions. We have our stem, which gives our lexical form. The subject is in the nominative, and the direct object is in the accusative. We've already gone through our paradigms here. Definite articles, summaries. Okay, now I'll do a quick little vocabulary. This is going to be vocabulary for next week's. But also wanted to show you what it's going to look like in our lexical forms here. So we got agape. We already know what that means, right? Okay, and then we have here, this is the lexical stem ending, single here. And that is our definite article assigned to it. This is how you're going to see it in your...
That's how it's on the cards, on the flashcards.
Yeah, that's exactly how you're going to see it then. So anybody want to pronounce this? Alos. Accent up front. Alos. Anybody want to guess what this means?
Other.
Yeah, or another too, yeah. And then once again, we've got our lexical forms here. I'm trying to think, why do we have the eta here? I don't remember. I'm drawing a blank, so forgive me. I need to look that up and get back with you on that one. Okay. Anyone who want to try to pronounce? Altos. Yeah, what does this mean?
I don't know. Voice? No.
Kind of, yeah, but it means he, she, it. Yeah. Did anybody hear me up in the when Chip was saying Thomas? He was like trying to he made his spiel about the biblical Greek class. He goes, "How do you say it in Greek?" And I go, "Altos." Actually, I go "auton." So it's like, how do you say it in Greek? But okay. What's the last one? What? The definition of this? Alos. Other or another? Yeah. There's actually another word in Greek for other. It's heteros. Okay, and then we have altos, he, she, it. Depending on the ending, yeah. So that's why we have the dual. Because yeah, that's right. Okay, duh. That's why we have that in here. Because this could be also feminine or depending on its application. So like alte could be her, altos would be him, and then subject and object agreement, and then it would be auton. Okay. Anybody want to try to take a stab at pronouncing this? Mm-hmm. You've had it. You pronounce it exactly. Say it again louder. Perfect.
Yes.
Yeah. And then we have our paradigm ending, our
What does it mean?
kingdom.
King.
Well, kingdom. Yeah. Do you remember the one where if it ends in the one, what would we call it? The vocabulary word we have this week. If it's feminine, it means one thing, and if it's masculine, it means another. And basileo is king. Basilea, kingdom. Yeah. And interesting thing, this word's in English. Yeah. There's a name that's very common in English. Well, somewhat common, not that common these days. And if anybody's watched The Princess Bride,
Yes.
okay, what's the main character's the main male character's name?
Wesley?
Yeah, that's this word in same root word. Just thought I'd give you that. In Russian, you'll run into Vasily,
Oh.
king. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot easier to
Yeah.
that middle word there.
That's my comparative linguistics nerd popping out on me there.
Wesley is what?
King in English.
In English?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
No, it comes from the old Anglo-Saxon roots. Okay, so this pronounce de, it means and or but, depending on its context. Like this, and this, or this but that. And here we have Remember what I told you what Greek loves to do? Swallow up vowels. So here's an elided form. So if you have de, yeah, like in French, like if you have de in front of like a word that begins with another vowel, you'll just end up with that.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So it'd be,
Italian, like
yeah.
the Italian, the apostrophe Italian.
Yeah. So, but it'd be still be de
Like a
apostolo.
contraction.
Yeah, but that's so. Remember, I told you about the soft breathing mark where it's going to come into play. Like you put this in front of the word apostolos. It's not going to be apostolos. It's still going to be the apostolos.
Okay.
So then you still have that in the
What's
throat.
it called again?
A glottal stop.
Glottal stop.
Yeah.
Glottal stop.
Okay.
So it's not anyone else.
What?
So it's not anyone else.
And yeah, and or but.
No ifs, ands, or buts.
If's another word in Greek. This is N. Any clue as what this means?
And?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is in. Yeah,
Inside.
in. Yeah, yeah,
Inside.
inside. Yeah. So if you hear about somebody have encephalitis,
Oh, of course.
it means in head. And here we go. Ergon. We ran into this earlier. I'm trying to remember what this. Well, we have the ooh here for. I'm drawing a blank right now. We'll get into that later. That's probably going to be dealing with probably. This is me. I did not prep in that case. I did not think we were going to get into vocabulary. I didn't think we were going to have the time to get into vocabulary, so I did not cover that. So I do apologize.
Ergo.
And if y'all are doing flashcards, you're going to run into all of this. Kairos. Remember, accent is the second syllable if you wanted pronouncing it properly. Kairos. Okay, any guess as to what this means?
Time.
Yeah, exactly.
Specific time.
Yeah, exactly. Or an appointed time, or yeah. At what time is my appointment? Or what time can I meet you at? What time does class start rather than just time in general?
And Chiron is general time, like back in the day. Is that it?
Ora, okay, no, I had that backwards. Ora was, I said, yeah, you're right. That's,
Chronos is time.
and
Ages or dates.
yeah, like, yeah, but also an abstract, like if you're talking about time is, time rules is all, or time,
Yeah.
something of that nature. You use chronos, yeah. And an abstract, yeah. Yeah. And then noon.
Does it mean a lady in a habit?
And they, oh, no.
Now.
Exactly, it's now.
Like, ahorita now?
Yeah, exactly. And what does this mean? Yeah, it's the, and it's different forms.
The, it's different.
Yeah, so we got masculine singular, nominative masculine singular, nominative feminine singular, nominative neuter singular. And yeah, hoti, yeah. Any guesses?
That.
Yep, exactly.
Important words.
Yeah.
You have to make one.
Yeah. Okay, any guess on this? How do you pronounce these? Ooh, ook, or ooh, yeah.
Those. Or
Yeah.
these.
Nope. This means no or not.
Oh.
Yeah.
Not like no.
Yeah. This isn't a general negative.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because you can also have another form of day, but just not accented, meaning not to.
Okay. Cool.
And here we go. Hold on, we had this earlier. Yeah.
Oh,
Time, an appointed time, like
okay.
in the hour, in the third hour of the day.
Oh, oh.
Yeah. That's exactly what it means, hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it can also mean time at an appointed time. Like what hour are you going to be here? Because you'll have that in Spanish instead of what time.
Yeah.
Oh, and then,
What hour is it?
yeah, exactly. And now, y'all know 39 words in Greek.
Well,
I think no is,
that's a stretch.
I have
but-
Yeah,
seen
no,
39 words.
yeah, it's supposed to 39 words.
You've been exposed, yeah. Well, you know in the fact that you've been familiarized, you've been introduced
Absolutely.
at some point in time. So you have cognosco, you're familiar, but eventually one time you will have episteme, understanding of the word. So 2 Greek words there that we use a lot. All right,
We
so
can have those words.
yeah,
Later on, we'll have it.
yeah. All right, so that's it. We made it into class in perfect timing. So yeah, we will be making it into our next 2. God, I'm just going brain dead. Our next 2 case endings by next week. So next week we're going to be dealing with genitive and dative cases. And do you remember what function this does in English? What's that? Yeah, it's possessive. Okay, so a genitive is not quite, but it is basically a possessive case, but it's a little bit more. And then the next case, the dative, is going to be dealing with dative is going to be the next case. Yeah, don't worry about that. Don't write it down. You'll be covering that a lot. Yeah, that's going to be covering what an object's going to be doing with an indirect object.
What workbook pages do you?
Oh, yes. I need to see. Yeah. So, for next week, we're going to be working on. I'm getting tired tonight. I don't know why. Okay, exercise 6. So that's going to be pages 11 through 14, and this is all chapter 6 in your books. And so learn you're going to want to get all of your. I'm brain dead again. All of our vocabulary words in chapter 6. We have the first half are going to be on pages 48 through the top of 50. And then we have, actually we don't have extra words, do we? No. So that's all you're going to be doing, from the bottom of page 48, which we covered all these tonight.
That's great.
So 48 to 50?
Yes. So we're going to have a number of vocabulary words each week moving forward. So we're going to be having a quiz moving forward just like we had this morning. I hit you all with 2 quizzes because we covered 2 weeks this morning. Yes, we will. Yeah, from here on in.
It will just be vocabulary, or will it be like?
It'll be both. Let me see. Actually, I have it. I do believe. No, I don't have it with me right now. Yeah, it'll be vocabulary and some of the exercises we're going to be working on. So it'll be, for the most part, mirroring some of the stuff we're covering in your workbooks. All right. So that being said, anybody have any questions before we wrap it up for the evening? Is everybody feeling overwhelmed? Everybody deep in the fog right now?
Hold on, the quiz will cover what again?
The vocabulary and the workbook exercises. Yes. Yeah, maybe. All right. With that being said, that's it. Thank you, everybody. We truly appreciate you all. Ruth, I will send you the email here shortly. In fact, I'll probably do it before we leave. Oh, thank you for doing that. Yes. Oh, no, if you want to keep them. Oh, is this for her? These were for her.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Ruth, you want these papers? She said that for you.
Yeah. And here.
No, this is mine, I'm sorry.
All right. Thank you, Louis. Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say, they're talking about languages. See, my late wife Margaret and my daughter-in-law Ishna, they each found something in common, although it's different languages.
Mm-hmm.
It's, Margaret grew up with speaking German,
Really?
It's difficult for her learning English. And Lisa started growing up with Spanish and it's difficult learning English. So they both had that in common, although it's different languages.
But that's neat. Do they both share the same passion for learning languages? Oh, I'm sorry. They.
About the last year or two, few years that my wife Margaret lived.
Oh, lovely, lovely. Hang on, I'm going to give these to here. Also, these will help you get caught up in the meantime while you're waiting for your resources to get in. Okay.
So I'll get those next week. I'll get those books and I'll. Get
Oh, yes.
those checkbooks.
Definitely. Well, I appreciate your help there. I haven't had dinner yet, so I've like my blood sugar started nosediving in the last 10 minutes. I'm like, I can't remember what Hoti means right now. So thanks.
Yeah, thank you for. I'm glad.